everyone, welcome back to Low Country Lawn. Today I'm going to be walking you through using Lesco Dimension as a fall pre-emergent herbicide, which includes a 5017 fertilizer blend. We're going to cover what's inside, what weeds it controls, when and how to apply it safely, precautions you want to take, and any tips to get the best performance. So let's go ahead and dive in. Fall might not be the first time you think about herbicides, but applying a pre-emergent now can really help you get ahead of the winter weeds and reduce weed pressure as you head into the spring. Dimension is the trade name for a turfgrass herbicide whose active ingredient is Dithiopyr. You'll see Dimension listed on a lot of Lesco products in really low percentages. Sometimes it's as little as 1/10 or 1/15 of a percent, especially if you're buying it in a granular mixed fertilizer package as well that's got a little bit of the pre-emergent and the fertilizer in it. The Dimension 0.15 5017 that I'm using today means it has 0.15% of the active herbicide plus an NPK of 5017. Now the 17% in that NPK is going to be high potassium, which is really going to help out the health of our roots in the turf grass throughout the winter. And the 5%, the N portion of the NPK, which is the nitrogen, is going to be constructed of 5% urea nitrogen. Now one advantage of using Dithiopyr or the Lesco Dimension as a pre-emergent is that it also has some post-emergent capabilities as well. It's only going to be effective as a post-emergent though if you're using it against weeds when they're really young, before they've matured. By really young, they mean before they've started to tiller. Tillering is going to be when you start getting little side shoots coming off of the main stem of that weed. Now the way Dimension works is it prevents those weed seeds from germinating. In some cases, like crabgrass, if you catch it early enough, it can even affect that weed once it's already started to grow before it gets fully mature, again, before it started to tiller. But once those weeds are mature, Dimension's not going to do a whole lot. Remember, it's a preventive tool. It's not a cure-all. It's not going to kill every weed you've got, especially ones that are already above ground. Now, when used properly, Dimension provides a pre-emergent control of many types of weeds, including lots of broadleaf weeds. Some of the weeds that it targets includes crabgrass, foxtails, woodsorrel, spurge, purslane, speedwell, and many other broadleaf weeds. Now, if you're thinking about reseeding or overseeding or laying down sod or putting in plugs or anything like that, be careful using a pre-emergent. The same mode of action it uses to stop the weeds from growing will also have an effect on the seeds or any of those plugs or sod or anything you put down. Most labels, including the label for this, are going to impose about a 12-week waiting period before you put down any sort of new grass or seed or anything like that. Also, some turf varieties, especially fine fescues, are going to be really sensitive to Dithiopyr. So you always want to check the label for the specific type of grass you've got and see how it's expected to affect it. Now the whole idea of using a fall pre-emergent is to suppress the germination of those winter weeds so that they're not a problem as you start heading into the spring and you've got less weed pressure growing into the spring growing season. Additionally, the fall application is going to give you a little bit of a barrier protection. If you apply it at the right temperature, which is about 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to go ahead and have a barrier in place before those winter weeds try to germinate. Now the label for Lesco Dimension says you want to do an application anywhere between late summer to early fall. They recommend that's pretty much between late August through November. The label is also going to recommend for a fall application on residential turfgrass to use what's known as... All right, hold up. I got to stop the video. I'm about to say something that's going to be confusing. It's not accurate in accordance with the label, so I'm going to go ahead and clear it up now. I say you want to use program 3 in the video here in just a couple of seconds. What I meant to say is program 1. I have no idea why I said that. I need to clear it up. So anytime you hear me say program 3 for residential homeowners and residential turf, you need to be thinking and using program 1. Hope that clears this up. Back to the video. Program 3. Program 3 is going to determine what kind of application rates you want to use for residential turfgrass when using it as a pre-emergent application in the fall. Now it's important to remember that a fall application is not going to be a substitute for a spring application. It's going to help reduce that weed pressure, but you're very likely still going to need a pre-emergent application in the spring. Now timing is everything. You want to make sure you apply this pre-emergent when the soil temperatures are between about 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's going to catch the seeds before they start to germinate as the soil temperatures get a little bit below that. Again, depending on your region, that's normally going to be late August through early November. You can always check the historical soil temperatures if you go to GreenCast online. Now when you open up GreenCast, you're going to go to the monitoring tools, and then you can simply scroll down to the soil temperature map, and then you see that it's got the current soil temperatures for your region. You can change the dates and set a specific custom date range. All I've done here is look at the soil temperatures for last year. It's going to show the actual temps, and then it's going to show the 5-year average and the 10-year average. Now you obviously want to make sure you use a calibrated spreader, and you want to try to apply it in a crisscross pattern. You want to aim for uniform coverage, and that's going to be generally going one direction and then going the second direction 90 degrees out. Ideally, you get some light rainfall or a very light watering shortly after application. That's going to help the pre-emergent herbicide go down into the soil where it's going to really stop those seeds before they start to germinate. According to the label, there's a couple of key points you want to remember. Do not apply more than 7.65 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Also, you don't want to exceed 22.95, we'll call it 23 pounds per 1,000 square feet per year, even if you split that into multiple applications. You don't want to apply it to bentgrass and certain fine fescues. Make sure you consult the label before you apply it. There are certain ones that it highly recommends you do not apply it to those. Now, for pretty much any other warm season or cool season grass, it's safe to apply. Again, don't apply it to newly put down seed, sod, plugs, sprigs, anything like that, or if you're planning to install those within 12 weeks. If you do have some that you recently laid down, you want to make sure until that's mature. Now, what do they define that as? Once you've mowed that area at least twice. That seems a little early to me, but that's a recommendation on the label. All right, so to measure this out, what I do is I just use a bathroom scale, and then I'm going to measure how much I weigh on it first. Zero out the scale. 222 pounds. Now I'm going to get off. I will re-zero out the scale again. Now I'm going to pick up the bag. It should weigh about 50 pounds. Get on the scale with that while holding it. There we go, 272 pounds. So pretty much right at 50 pounds. So now, since I want to put just under 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet for my 3,000 square foot yard, I'm going to pour out about 18 pounds from the bag into the hopper there, and that should cover it. All right, let's see what that comes out to. Now to see how much I poured out, I'm just going to re-zeroize the scale, and I'll get on with the bag in hand and see how much that weighs. 272 minus 18 should be hopefully about 254. Yeah, it's pretty close for a first shot, 256.6. So I'll put just a little more in there and then we're ready to rock. All right, the bag didn't say whether to water it in afterwards, but it's granular fertilizer, so I assume you probably do want to water it in. So I'm going to go ahead and run my sprinklers for about 10 minutes or so at each of the stations just to make sure it hopefully soaks into the ground nice and well and starts to dissolve. All right, so to wrap it up, just remember that Lesco Dimension isn't going to be a replacement for a spring herbicide program. You're still going to need to do that, but it's an excellent choice to use as a fall pre-emergent herbicide. It's going to be a powerful tool that's going to help suppress weeds and ease back that weed pressure as you start heading into the spring and the heavy growing season. In spring, if you want, you can go ahead and apply another round of pre-emergent as well. I highly recommend it, and it's only going to help out throughout the summer. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you found this helpful, you learned something, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what kind of weeds you got, if you put this down, and if it had any effect on stopping those throughout the winter. Thanks. I'll see you in the next video.